One more elder man is came to explain the structure of the atom. He explained structure of the atom is very precise and accurate than compared to the earlier atomic models. Why? Because we have a lot of limitations have for the previous atomic models. Basically, his name is Niels Bohr. The main important points of this theory is electrons revolving around the nucleus in certain fixed circular paths called as a orbits. Each orbit has their own definite amount of energy. That's the reason these orbits are called as energy levels. These levels are designated as 1, 2, 3, 4 or KLMN. While staying electron into the orbit, it cannot lose the energy or it cannot gain the energy. That's the reason these orbits are known as a stationary orbit or stable orbits. While revolving the electron around the nucleus in circular paths, the angular momentum of the electron is an integral multiple of h by 2 pi in terms of mvr equal to h by 2 pi then h by 2 pi. Here m equal to mass of the electron, v equal to velocity of the electron, r equal to radius of the electron, n equal to principal quantum number, h equal to Planck constant. Basically, electron jumps from lower orbit to higher orbit, it gains the energy. The same way, it jumps from higher orbit to lower orbit, it loses the energy in terms of delta E equal to E2 minus E1. That is, delta E equal to delta E is difference in energy. E2 is higher orbit and E1 is lower orbit. As in when the n values getting increases, the size of the orbit get increases and also energy of the orbit also get increases. These are the main points of this particular theory. He explained very successfully hydrogen atom. Why? Because it has only one electron. That's the reason he explained very elaborately. He subjected to hydrogen gas into the electric discharge. At that point of time, electron gains the energy and it goes to the higher energy orbits. That is called as a excited state. It cannot stay for a long time at that situation. Again, it come back to the ground state in the form of directly or indirectly. We can see the follow steps. That is, fourth orbit 2 directly comes to the first orbit, or indirectly fourth orbit to third orbit and second orbit and first orbit, or fourth orbit to second orbit and first orbit. While coming back, electron releases the radiation. It is gives the spectral lines. Those spectral lines are divided into 5 series. One is Lyman series, Balmer series, Fashion series, Brackett series and Fund series. Lyman series is nothing but electron jumps from higher orbit to first orbit. It is formed in the ultraviolet region. But in case of Palmer, electron jumps from higher orbit to second orbit in visible region. In case of Fashion, electron jumps from higher orbit to third orbit in infrared region. But in case of bracket series, electron jumps from higher orbit to fourth orbit in middle infrared region. But in case of Fund, electron jumps from higher orbit to fifth orbit in far infrared region. These are the 5 series of spectral lines are formed. We can calculate these spectral lines wavelength in terms of Rayberg equation, that is 1 by lambda equal to r within the brackets 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square. Here lambda is wavelength of the emitted or absorbed light. R is Rayberg constant and n1, n2 are the lower and higher energy orbit levels. Based on this theory, we can calculate the radius of the orbit and energy of the orbit also by using these visible formulas you can see. And finally, what are the demerits of this theory? It cannot explain spectra of atoms and ions having more than one electron, that is lithium, helium, hydrogen molecule and beryllium also. For all these atoms have more than one electron. That's the reason he cannot explain. It cannot explain Zeeman effect and Shark effect. Here we can discuss these two effects. Radiation is passes under magnetic field. It can split into the spectral lines in magnetic field. This is known as Zeeman effect. What about Shark? Radiation is passes through the electric field. It can split into spectral lines. This is called as a Shark effect. These two scenarios also Niels Bohr does not explain, but this theory is against to the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Again, it fails to explain the why angular momentum of the moving electron in the orbit is quantized. Finally, he cannot explain how the atoms are able to form the molecules in terms of chemical bonds. How chemical bonds are forming in the molecules or atoms. He cannot explain in this scenario also. Thank you.